You guys miss me last week? Did you miss me? No, here we are. Just another continuation of a crappy market that doesn't want to do anything. Ah, boy, the frustration of it all. But hopefully you learn a lot from these periods, because these are the periods that tell you to mind your own business, hedge, follow the models, but no reason to be active, no reason to take shots, because, you know, at the end of the day, they're just kind of churning around. They're kind of revolving around the meat, would be the way that I'd look at it. Okay, they're not going anywhere fast, and it makes it a challenge, you know. But you know, it's amazing that we're higher, and we've been, you know, not so much today, but just in general. I mean, who would have thunk? How many of you would have said, "Oh, I got to buy that market"? Okay, what's up, Bruce? How many would have said, "I got to buy that market" when it was down there? You know, I mean, you know, with everything that's going on between inflation and the supply chain and everything else, not to mention the violence that's around. And have we noticed that it's gotten a little bit more violent than in the past? Have we noticed there's a little bit more of that going on? And I wonder why that is. Okay, I mean, we know why it is, but it is something that is being created. Okay, you know, this is pretty ugly, just in general. And but again, the markets don't care. That's what you always have to remember: is markets could care less. They'll tell you what they think, okay? Because the market in our world is the ultimate scorekeeper. Okay, so, you know, look, I can see a lot of reasons that should be just, you know, as we used to say on the trading floor, sell them until your hands bleed. However, I'd be bloody by now. Okay. And you got to just, you know, look, it looks pretty awful. However, the trend has turned, you know, back to the upside. I mean, you know, natural gas is exploding once again. Crude oil, I was really surprised that it actually sold off from where it opened. I thought it was going to Pluto this morning. And I think eventually, I think it does anyways. I mean, again, I don't think that you know, that they're not making any effort to slow what the hell's going on. Okay, there is absolutely zero effort going on, okay, to prevent, you know, I mean, a lot of the things that which we've talked about many times can be eliminated. You know, inflation could be eliminated in 5 minutes, but they choose not to do so. Now, you have to ask yourself, why? Why don't they want to take care of inflation? Okay, that would be my question. Why is there so little desire to take care of the inflationary times when you have it within your power? Okay, does anybody have any answer to that? Because I certainly don't. I mean, I do. I have my opinion, but I'll leave that for a little while later. But anybody have an opinion on that? What that's all about? Okay, so, you know, there's nothing really, you know, any good when you think about it. I mean, how are earnings going to be going forward? Okay, when you ask yourself, well, how are retail stores going to make numbers when they can't get supply? Okay, you know, where's the profits going to come from? You know, these guys got big expenses. It's not like they're cheap, you know, and yet they can't get enough supply to make enough. So where does that fit in to this whole picture? Oh, and you know, we've got a real potential food shortage coming up, which we'll talk about with Andy when he gets here. But you know, you could see the prices of of everything double, okay, in the grain markets. Okay, again, I don't predict anything. I give you my opinion, but I don't predict anything. Okay, listen, I trade the market, I trade the price action, I trade the flow. I have an opinion. I still think the markets are going down 40 to 60%. But right now I'm long. So what does that tell you? Okay. But you know, there's a hell of a lot more to be concerned about than there is to be excited about. Okay. And certainly there is no real help on the way. And more importantly, the people in charge don't seem to give a rat's ass about what's going on. Because again, as I've said many times, it is within their power to fix it. Okay. And why don't they want to fix it? You know, that's another question. Anybody want to take a stab at it, feel free. Okay. But we've got these instances that are pretty obvious, okay, and pretty simple to look at. But again, as we look at it, so we have the data, we understand, but what does it mean? Okay. That's, again, this is what it always comes back to, is if you're looking at it just from a monetary standpoint, what does it mean? Okay, you know, where are we monetarily? And again, the markets right now appear to want to go up. Okay. So hold on one second. So I think that, you know, again, we're citizens, we live here, we have to deal with the situations that are going on, but we're also investors and traders that have to deal with from another point of view. So don't let your opinion or what's going on affect the other parts, right? We know that it's tough. I mean, listen, gas, I mean, I know some places are paying well over $8 and it looks like we're going to 10. So I can't open that link now. What is the link about? You want to tell me what it is? I can't open it, and I won't have it when I close this because I don't have it. So you can email it to me. I'll be happy to look at it later, but I have no idea and I can't open it now. So feel free to either send it to me or tell me what it is, and I'll give you my take. They seem to want to burn down and reset. Well, there you go. There's the answer. Okay, that is, in my opinion, what effect the reopening of the floor will have. There's not going to be a reopening of the floor. There's no chance the floor is reopening. Okay, is that what that article's about? There is no chance the floor is reopening. Listen, remember, the exchanges are in for themselves. Okay, when they went from public companies, I mean from nonprofit to public companies, they got one interest as shareholders. What is the reason that they would reopen the floor? Give me one legitimate reason why the CBOE or any of the exchanges will reopen. Okay, think about it. And again, logically, bulk trades, they don't need it for bulk. Look, the exchanges made it clear they don't care about bulk trades. Okay, they'll make, if you want to trade, if you want the access, you trade the way we tell you to trade. They made that clear when they shut the floors in the first place. You think they want to add all that expense back in to the business? That's why they eliminated market makers in the first place. That's why they eliminated clerks. That's why they eliminated all their staff. You know, they're working probably, probably at about 10% of the staff they had at one time. Yeah, this is very, very real and very serious, and they are not. You can bet there's no chance, okay, that the floor is reopened. Okay, I don't know what the article says, but I'll make that statement with blind, without seeing it. Okay, because again, I've been around for a day or two, and I know how these guys work, and they have no desire, because again, it's a massive expense to run a trading floor. It's not like it was cheap. That's why they shut them down in the first place. Okay, you know, again, help employees, And especially in today's world, you imagine what you'd have to pay somebody to work on the trading for you? I mean, McDonald's can't get somebody at $20 an hour. What do you think they're gonna have to pay somebody who works in the trading floor? It ain't gonna happen. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the article says, but you know, they may have an electronic floor, but again, that's just, you know, that's just geography, as they say. Okay. If the actual typical floor trading that we know is never coming back. Okay. The cost is too high. It's too much of a profit sucked down for the exchanges. They don't want that. Okay. They have no interest. They have no interest in that whatsoever. Okay, and this is something you got to remember. Okay, when you see or read things, a lot of it is artificial crapola. Okay, a lot of it is meaningless to the big scheme of life, because again, all you have to do is look at what the bottom line is. The bottom line is that the exchanges are making more money today, okay, than they ever made. Okay. And why would they give that up? And their shareholders are thrilled. Okay, so we'll see. In the meantime, you know, right now there's not much to trade, anyways. Right now, okay. I mean, this is the brutality of markets that are quiet and slow, and you know, look, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I've been through this before. This is not, again, I haven't been through a lot of the economic times we're watching right now, and a lot of the hatred that's going on right now. But overall, from a trading standpoint, I've seen this movie before. The problem is we never know how long the movie lasts, and we don't know when or how it ends yet. Okay. But you can bet, in my opinion, now this is an opinion, it's not fact because my position says the opposite. However, you can bet that this is a retail rally, okay, that has triggered some reversals, obviously, for us as well, and that the commercials are just are giving them little bits and pieces as they try to push them higher, and waiting, because knowing, because of the lack of volume and because of the lack of activity, that they cannot bury him here, and because if they do, it'll trigger a panic. And that's if you're trying to get short, the last thing you want to create right now is a panic. Okay, you want to give them every opportunity to buy. London Metals Exchange is about the only traditional one left in the UK. Okay, and listen, there's very few, and none really are traditional, because 90% or 100% of the volume goes through electronic anyways. Okay. This is why you don't see a lot of, you know, movement during the day many times, because a lot of it's all done electronically. So a lot of it gets eased overnight. You know, there's a lot of things going on, okay, that, you know, that have changed the dynamics. What will never change, no matter what they do, is the patterns that exist in markets, and the sell-offs and the chase-ups and all the other stuff that we've all become accustomed to at some point or another. All right. But, you know, remember, nothing tells you what the market is going to do except for the market itself. Okay. And that's an important fact to always remember, is that the price action will dictate what's going to happen. No matter what you think, no matter how much you want to believe something else, price is the only thing that is important. And that is what will always dictate the overall terms of the market. Okay? Because that's what markets look at. That's what markets watch. That's what they trade off of. And that's what everybody kind of trades off of. Okay. And if you understand that, okay, then you are putting yourself in a far, far better position to be successful from a trading standpoint, knowing that, hey, this is what we got. Okay, this is the market, and there's nothing we're going to do that's going to change The market we can only participate in. Okay. Because really, in the big scheme of life, we are just participants in a much bigger picture. Okay. So just remember, okay, just remember that price is the king. It will always dictate what's going to happen next, or give you the best idea of what's going to happen next. And the more you fight price, the more likely you are to fail. Okay. So take your opinions, you can have them, but if you use them in the markets, you are more likely to fail than you are to succeed. Okay. Because nobody here smelled this rally coming with what's going on in the direction in which we're headed. Okay. And you know, again, I don't even know if it's going to last, but certainly it's been a pretty big bounce since we last met a couple of weeks ago. What's up, brother? No, he'll be here in a second. Just yell out when you're in, brother. Because he's coming. I can see him. He's a coming. So he'll yell in when he's ready. But again, you can't let the headlines or the news. We all know the facts, or there's not a lot of secrets around it. Okay. So, you know, you have to remember that it's a factual business, and right now prices are working their way higher. Okay. And we had obviously much bigger. It was kind of an ugly close today. So, are you there, brother? You got to unmute yourself, I think, if you're there. I mean, I know you're there, but if you're, I can't hear you. So you got to unmute yourself. Okay. Well, he'll yell. He knows I see him. So, anyways, I mean, again, this is what it's all about, right? So, you know, there's a ton of things that are bad that are happening. Okay. And yet, okay. So the markets, the S&P, the Russell, the Nasdaq was up at one time 250 points today throughout all the bad. Now again, obviously, it's been crushed. Oh, he left. I guess he couldn't figure it out. So he'll be back, I suspect. Okay. So, you know, the Nasdaq was the one that got so optimal. So it's only natural that a dead cat bounce or a rip your face off rally or whatever you want to call it would come there first. Okay, but what does it really mean? Well, it's on a whole bunch of nothing. Okay, it's on air, and the whole markets right now are, again, we trade live every morning, and so far for about the last 3 weeks, every morning I say, you know, it's a great day to shut it down and get the hell out for now. Because why? Because there's nothing to do. You know, remember, the more you stare at a screen, okay, the more you stare at it, the more likely you are to give yourself a bad trade. Okay, the more likely you are to make a mistake, because somewhere along the line, your opinion is going to factor in. Okay, and we know that we as human beings have a natural opinion, and certainly many of you are guided by what you read in the newspaper. Okay, I see you back. Are you having troubles? You're not. I am. There you are. Now you just have to unmute yourself. Okay, and hopefully you'll get in this time. There you are. What's up?
Here I am. I'm just trying to. Do you hear me?
I got you. I hear you
Oh,
loud.
good. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
I was just talking about, you know, markets are absolute and your opinions are worthless, basically. I mean, we all know the news that's going on around the globe, but yet markets have managed to work their way higher.
Yeah, it's very confusing, I would say, but I don't think it's going to be confusing for too long.
Yeah. Would you say, now you've been around for a day or two, would you say that you've seen these type of market conditions before and they're as tough as it gets when you see this kind of action?
I would say every time it's different and nothing surprises me, but this is particularly strange markets, I would say. I'd say they have every reason to be the stock market has every reason to be plunging, but it's not. Inflation is raging, and maybe it's just that the value of money is going down. I mean, I said that last year, and it could be the same thing.
Right. Well, we've said it many times, but again, when you obviously the company's earnings, there's no way, certainly there's no way a retailer can make up their earnings.
No,
because they're not getting enough goods to supply them.
no, they have not. You know, when you have nothing to sell, it's very hard to make money, right?
Right. I mean,
They have no product.
So if your cost of goods is going higher, if your cost of labor is going higher, and you're getting less goods, to me, it doesn't sound like a very good picture to make money.
No, it's not. It's not. But, you know, if the value of money is just going down faster, look, the stock market, you know, all right, it's bounced a little bit, but it's kind of going nowhere fast. And the trend
Right,
is
it's bouncing
still,
up to reverse us, though. So, I mean, that's
right. But if I look at this chart, we're still making lower highs and lower lows.
yeah, I mean, we're at a key moment in time, you know, right now in this consolidation version here after the spike up, and it's going to make a decision one way or the other. I mean, again, I still would believe, and again, I'm long, but I would still believe it's going lower. All right, and I don't see any reason to believe elsewhere, because I don't see anything that's that encouraging from the rampaging inflation, which is, Jesus, it is getting worse by the minute. I mean,
yeah, it is. And I mean, what are the Fed gonna next week? They're gonna raise the interest rates to 1.25% to 1.5%. That doesn't even, that's like a fraction of what inflation is running, because listen, based on CPI and PPI, all right, it's 8% and 10% or whatever. But based on what I'm seeing, it's like 20%.
right. And
if you're looking at gasoline, it's 100%. I mean, it's.
I would say that the inflation is 3 times the CPI at least.
Yeah, it's 20%.
And that's not accounting for a lot of the things, you know, the poor farmers, the input costs are going through the roof as well. And the real danger with them is if what happens if prices drop and inputs keep going higher.
Yeah, they're out of business, and then we really have shortages.
You know, so
yeah, I mean, and they can't afford to operate. You know, I mean, their costs, financing costs are up, labor costs are up, fertilizer, if you can get it, is up.
right.
You know, it's a nightmare.
And of course, Mother Nature is cooperating at the moment, but again, that doesn't mean that it will cooperate all the way through.
We're in June. We can't even make that statement until late July, right?
But they got planning done, so that's I guess the first big step, right?
Yeah. Planning is done, but growing is critical.
Right. I said that this morning on RFD. The growing is another story, right? The planting is great, okay, because at least you're not behind the 8 ball in that spot. But on the other side of the equation, you know, we have the growing, and of course we can get drought. You know, I remember in '83, not to remember, you know, way back, but '83 we played golf 160 days in a row. There was no rain.
You can get drought, you can get floods, you can get all kinds of things that interfere.
We already got feast and famine with the current administration.
It's not that good. It's not that good. Are you in Vegas, or are you in Chicago?
I'm in Chicago. I'll be back in Vegas on Saturday.
Back in Chicago. How is Chicago?
Hot and sweaty, and you know, listen, for me, I don't go far, so you know, I don't leave the house too often anyway, so it's okay. You know, where am I going?
That's good. Well, the bond market's dropping again. That's not a surprise.
Yeah, and of course we're long the bonds, so that's always a, you know, that also triggered. Now again, I said right away I hate the trade, but I can't.
No, you got to go with.
I can't do anything about it.
You got to stick with the program, which makes sense. But, you know, at the end of the day, we know that, you know, we get a little chopped up on stuff to catch the bigger trends.
Right. So, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And again, it'll change and we'll get right. And again, when you're just rotating around the mean, it's always much tougher. Okay.
Yeah. There's very choppy markets, and, you know, everyone's got an opinion, and the markets will tell us what they're going to do.
Exactly. So what's going on in your mind? What are you thinking here? Anything in the world? Anything on your mind?
I paid $5.45 for a gallon of gasoline, and I told the guy who was filling the pump across from me that this is going to be a cheap price compared to what you're going to be paying 6 months from now.
Well, we both agree on that. And, so, and nobody can answer why. Well, we know why, but nobody will answer directly as to why they won't take care of that. I mean, that would obviously solve everybody's problems, but we don't want to.
Well, they doubled down. The administration doubled down on its climate change nonsense. And at the end of the day, climate change all well and good, but we got to survive. And now we're talking economic survival. And economic survival is really human survival too.
But do you remember when I said that everything all well and good, but at what cost are you willing to sacrifice this? And
right.
I mean, this cost is becoming way too great. I mean, we're in a very dangerous spot in history right now, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's very unsettling. It's actually nauseating. How's that?
I agree with that.
It's actually nauseating. It's actually disgusting. And all I can say is vote, 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 vote.
Yeah. I mean,
and the question is, even if the other party gets control, are we going to be able to do anything about it? Is it too late? Look, we have a Fed. I can't even blame the Fed anymore because, quite frankly, the problems are supply side problems. They're not demand side problems. I mean, the Fed, you want to blame them? They should have acted last year.
They should have acted 10 years ago.
Right. And we said at the time when those stimulus checks were going out, I remember saying to you, Bubba, why is my mother-in-law and my parents and my kids getting stimulus checks? They don't need them.
Right.
Those are the seeds that were planted. They indiscriminately gave out money, and right. Everyone was happy to take it. But now everyone is not going to be so happy for the effects of it.
Right. And how about all the businesses they gave money to on top of it?
Right.
I mean,
right.
Look, this is a horrible administration of haters. Okay, you can say whatever you want, and you can disagree all you want. They are haters. They hate America the way it is. Okay?
No, they don't. You're 100% right. They hate America the way it is. They really do. And they want to fundamentally change it.
You can argue with me all you want. You can tell me I'm nuts, but these people hate what we represent. They hate everything about us. They hate Israel. They hate everything that's good in the world. They hate. Okay, so it's not a pretty picture. So it's been 2 weeks since we've been here, buddy. What do you get? Any bitches?
2 weeks. I mean, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Good.
No, I was going to say I'm battling with this with a new computer here, so that's why I had a little trouble getting in.
No worries.
Well, I'm looking at the markets. Am I surprised the stock market rallied? Yeah, but nothing surprises me. Am I surprised gold is sitting here at 1840? No, not at all. Am I surprised that oil is up? I'm surprised oil isn't higher. How's that?
Me too. I didn't think it would fail from last night's 121.
No, I didn't either. But it's a long week. Natural gas 930 per MMBTU.
Did you see that late move? When I did the update this morning, it was up fractionally, and suddenly I looked over and go, Jesus, what's up almost $1? Yeah,
I saw that this morning. It's not a surprise, but it's so funny because 2 years ago, in 2 weeks, we reached a 25-year low, 144 per MMBTU. Look at the price now, 6.5 times higher. It's amazing. Wait until those gas bills start coming in for the air conditioning.
Well, again, it's going to come. Do you want to heat or eat?
Yeah, you want to heat or cool or eat.
I mean, this is what it's coming to, and unfortunately, I believe it's intentional. Okay.
Well, yes, he did say that. But since we've been on there last time, he said the transition to address climate change is going to be painful. It's going to be painful. So that's.
Well, it's always nice when you tell me something's going to be painful that is impossible to do anyways at the way you're trying to do it.
Yeah, of course.
That I find even more painful is that
I actually find listening painful.
Right. So, anyway, so I mean, listen, we got a market that, listen, markets are markets, and
I'll be back in one.
good. Go ahead. Did I lose you? Hello? I guess I lost him again. I don't know.
I'm here. I'll be back in 1 sec.
No worries. No, I got it. I can do this. I can handle this. 110 in Vegas. I love it. I'll be out by my pool all day. Don't worry. Again, so you got all kinds of crap happening. Okay. There's a ton of things happening in this market right now. And, eventually eventually everything resolves out. You back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry.
Eventually everything resolves out the way it's supposed to resolve. The short term, and this is always a difference, the short term action does not necessarily indicate what's going to happen. And there's always a little bit of head fakes that show up in markets. Again, this is, part of trading is, we may not want to admit to the fact that there's spoofing going on and other things, but everyone here who's ever sold anything, a car, a house, is always spoofed. You don't tell people it's not worth a crap. You tell them it's great, the greatest thing ever. So I think that this is always something that goes on, and when in a thin market, you can see a little bit more of that. And as I said, Andy, I don't think you were here yet, but I said, to me, this is a retail rally. I've said it for the last few weeks, and the commercials are waiting, but they can't pull the trigger too fast, because if they do, they'll create a panic, and then they won't get the biggest benefit that they're trying to get out of this, what they think is an impending sell-off. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're in a very dangerous time of the year, because not only are the markets confusing, but liquidity is going to dry up, because, 2 years into this pandemic, people are starving for a vacation. There's going to be people are going to have vacations this summer. People are going to try to take a breather from all the craziness and try to clear their heads. And markets are thin now. And the thinner the markets get, the more volatile they could get.
Right. And
so it's a very dangerous time, I think.
Exactly right. It's a very dangerous position that we find ourselves in today, because again, it's been thin already. So if you think about that, we're not even into the summer yet, which we are starting now. Just think how much thinner it can get from here. And again, that's always something to remember when liquidity dries up, and as we used to call it on the trading floor, when paper dries up, which is order flow, it becomes very thin and very dangerous. And I think that you have to be aware of those situations, okay, which it really affects a short-term trader more than anybody else, right? Which is why.
Absolutely. But then again, there's a real danger for passive investors here who are not hedged.
Investors that aren't hedged, there's a real danger always. Yeah. But for what we do, other than day trading, it is what it is. I mean, we can't argue, and we will eventually catch, as we've done in natural gas, as we've done in crude oil, we'll catch the huge moves.
Okay. Right. Exactly. And that's why, listen, there's no free lunch in anything. And there is a price to pay, and the price to pay and what we do is getting chopped up a little bit here and there. And
I thought everything was free.
No, nothing's free.
I thought everything was free.
Oh, by the way, if you really want to get into it about this government, that's the real point. There is nothing free. Right. They gave away free, and we're paying for it. And you know what the sad thing is? That the people who took it, who are all happy about it, they're going to pay the most. They're going to pay it back in spades. Right.
Well, you and I said from the beginning that the taxes weren't going to stop at the uber wealthy, and in fact, currently they are making the economy and everything else better for the uber wealthy and screwing the middle class at the same time.
Inflation is a tax. It's a brutal tax, right?
100%. Listen, we went to war over that, didn't we?
Yeah, it's a total tax. And, our standing in the world has gone down. It's very confusing to me how we could go from such a great nation to what we are today.
It doesn't take an imbecile long to turn it on its head. Okay.
I guess not.
Now, that teleprompter writer's got to go. But I have to ask you this question because I've noticed, and I want your opinion. There's a hell of a lot more violence than I ever remember, almost in my life, right now.
Yeah.
I mean, between the shootings at schools and all this stuff, it's sad. It's sad and it's scary. What do you think?
I mean, we weren't on the two days after we had our last gathering here on our Monday night call was this shooting in Texas. And I have to tell you, when I heard about it and I saw what was going on, I mean, I had tears rolling down my face. I can fourth grade children, innocent children, just taken out like this was a horrible situation. But what was more horrible was how badly it was politicized. And if you really want to come down to it, these things are the breakdown in the. This is my opinion. Okay, you could disagree. Anyone out there could disagree with me, but here's my opinion. The breakdown of the family is the first step toward that sows the seeds for this. The violent games that these kids, these directionless kids play, anesthetizes them to murder. These games where you're blowing out people, this is kind of a learned experience. And it's not so much the guns. Yes, an 18-year-old should not be able to buy an AK-47. I mean, there's no question about that. It's a ridiculous situation. But the real root problem here is the family. Families that are not taking care of their kids, that are not teaching them properly. And then it's an administration that is not punishing criminal behavior, and it's the DAs and the funded, this left-wing funded insanity that's going on. But I really think that it harkens back to the breakdown of the family for these kinds of situations. So, but does it break my heart when I see fourth graders, 17 of them, 19 of them mowed down? And when I see other people, when I see someone, a good Samaritan chasing someone who's stealing a pocketbook out of that, get run over, like my stepson's best friend's mother in mid-May. They're going to have her service this week. This is a horrible, it's a horrible, lawless situation. And the DAs are off. It's like, it's a war within.
Right.
It's a war within. And it's very upsetting. And you know what? It brings tears to my eyes. These innocent fourth grade kids, so sad. I mean, these kids with their whole life ahead of them, just mowed down. And the parents that are left behind, and the teachers, they'll never be the same. It's a horrible situation. Something's got to be done. But you know what? You can't keep saying something's got to be done. You got to do something. You got to vote. You got to put people in who are going to be, who are going to be tough on crime, because government's job is.
Listen. So as a parent, what is always a parent's worst fear?
The death of a kid.
Their children, and it's so scary. And you're talking about the fourth grade. You imagine the parents and all this crazy nuts violence going on. How do you guys get terminals? Believe me, I've been talking about that for so many years. You have to, unfortunately, you have to change the entire government over to not the criminals that are on both sides of the aisle. Again, I don't care which side you sit on. They're all criminals, in my opinion. Okay. There's very few that are worth a shit. Excuse me, what?
No, you're right. The Republican, Democrat, they have vested interests. They're owned. It's just the way that campaigns are run. They cost millions of dollars. So you're owned. You're an owned entity. It's a horrible situation. And they don't even believe what they do. Look, Nancy Pelosi sits there, and I'll pick on all of them, but I'll pick on her for now. She sits there, she's talking about climate change, she's talking about all these things, and her husband gets picked up.
I think I lost him again.
With a DUI driving his brand new Porsche in California. Okay? The law should apply evenly across the board, but it doesn't.
That wouldn't be right. What would be the point of being a politician if you couldn't break the law?
because when the founding fathers found this
Listen,
country,
I understand. I'm kidding, but I
that's the
mean,
situation.
it's amazing. All right. Anyways, so let's look at some markets. You know, listen, we got.
Yeah, let's look. We could go on. You know what? The thing is, the more we talk about it, the more depressing it is.
Yeah. Let's talk about markets. And the dollar, as we thought last, was starting to sell off, and it's now found, you know, a little bit of a bottom. We're short dollars, but it looks like, you know, probably, you know, 101 to 103. Again, the range is really wider than I would like to make it, but that's really kind of the trading range right now.
But
And
Bubba, one thing about the dollar index, we got to remember, this is so manipulated. You talk about manipulated. They love to talk about gold manipulated, silver's manipulated. This is manipulated to keep stability. So what happened there is not a surprise. The central banks, the monetary authorities, the G7, they manage this thing. They don't want it going up or down too fast.
if
What's
I
happened?
said if I said to you it was fraudulent, not manipulated, what would you say to that?
Well, same thing. I would say same thing.
Okay. I mean, same
Well,
difference.
it's not a free market.
No.
That's the bottom line. It's not a free market.
Market because they get the pull. They, even though the markets move up and down, they get the steal out of the back end.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
It's kind of like the fees that some of these leverage ETFs charge.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have a bitch? Connie wants to know.
Do I have a bitch?
Did you have a bitch? Did you make one?
I thought, what time is it? I thought I was bitching for the last half hour.
There you go, Connie. Anyway,
You know what? But the bitch I came prepared with, you brought up already, but I'll just reiterate it quickly, is the lawlessness. The lawlessness is the biggest threat to us individually, and something has to be done about that. You know, all of the other, the economics, the markets aside, the political nonsense aside, the safety. We need to be safe. We need to be able to look. When my wife goes out now, I'm worried. I gave her pepper spray to carry with her.
when I go out, I'm worried. I mean, you know, look, you know, depending on where you drive, you know, it's rough out there, man.
It's very rough. It's very rough.
Anyways, Connie, 101.
Hey, by the way, they were carjacking in downtown Summerlin parking lot.
I'm
Did
sure.
you see that?
I did not see it, but I'm listening.
That's right near where we live.
I know where it's at.
Right.
You know, it's right by the Aviators Park.
Right across the street.
I mean, you know, there's nothing surprises me because again, you know, I would never have owned a gun until now. Okay. And when the BLM movement was happening back in 20, you know, we lived in an isolated area and they get very close to my house. Now, what am I going to do with my baseball bat? Okay.
No, you're not.
Anyways, back to this 101 to 103, Connie, and the euro currency. Look, it popped a little bit. So what? It's going to par and it's going to 88 cents. And yes, we are long it at the moment, but I believe.
And it's going to work its way there, Bubba. It's going to work its way there. You look at the trend, the longer term trend. I know we trade short term, but because we trade short term because we don't want to miss the big move. Right. But it's getting chopped up a little bit here. You'll get paid off in the long run because you're right. It is going to $1 and below.
I got a crowbar in my nose. Yeah, listen, you have to be careful everywhere you go. You don't listen. You know, one thing you have to remember, and then let's get more to business. But one thing you just have to remember is that in today's world, with all of the violence, and not the violence only, but the people that are losing money and the poor people, okay, they're going to do anything to eat, and if it means sticking you up, they're going to stick you up. Okay.
Yep.
Anyways.
By the way, that when I lived in London, that's where I lived in St. John's Wood, St. Edmund's Terrace, Ash.
And the euro currency would be 106.50 to 107.50. We're long. I mean, again, I would prefer not to be a buyer. I'm long it, but I would not be looking to add. Okay. And Bitcoin, well, I don't know. Bitcoin bounced a little bit, but look, it is really in the exact same pattern it was in when we met last time.
Well, it's about as confusing.
107.50.
It's about as confusing as J.P. Morgan's contradictory stance towards it, where Jamie Dimon says it's a fraud and it's worthless, and then his research analysts come out and replace real estate with crypto as the preferred alternative asset class. So, are we surprised that it's consolidating and sitting around here? Because no one knows. No one knows. Follow the trend. That's the best.
No,
That's the
and
best.
I would say it's still 28,000 to 32,000. Look, we're short. We've been short for a hell of a long time. But 28 to 32,000. And look, I'm a fan. I'm a buyer, long term. Just like I buy gold and silver, I buy Bitcoin, and I buy pieces of it. Again, I just keep adding a little bit at a time here. Let's see, Brad from South Dakota, demand is high on corn. Of course, it's high on corn. I'll get to that when we get to the grains. And of course, the bond market, which we're long, it got thrashed today. And listen, to me, it's taken out Andy's next level. Again, we may reverse tomorrow. I have no idea. Again, I don't know ahead of time what we're going to be. But certainly, I didn't like it when we took it, even though we were profitable for a while. I don't like it now. I think that they're going significantly lower. And hopefully, as I said, I thought 142 was a great level to sell before it reversed. And obviously, it proved to be good. And I think we're going through 136. And what was your next number? 120?
127, 23, I think it is.
Okay.
I think that's the December 2013 low. My target was 136.16, and we got there. We went through that. And now the next support level, and these things trade nice technically.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, do they bounce? Of course they bounce, because you know what? The market gets too short. This is what happens.
Right.
So, okay, but the market gets too short. But you know what? We never know when an explosive move is coming one way or the other, So
We
that's
never know
why we
when
have to adjust.
the next dollar move is coming, the next natural gas move is coming, the next crude move is coming. We don't know.
Right.
You just have to be dressed for the party, because when you recognize it, it's too late.
Right.
So, I mean, the bonds, 136 should be some support. To me, I'd be a seller. Even though I'm long, I'd like to sell at 140, because I'm sure that we'll be reversing here shortly, if not tonight. And 136.
What you're going to do with the trend following in the bonds is you're going to, here and there, you're going to give up 2 points or so to make 10. That's fine. I have no problem with that.
Right. Gold, look, it looks horrible. Now, again, doesn't mean it's going to be horrible forever. And, it's such a constant battle with the gold bugs about what gold's going to do. Look, I have nothing against gold. I'm an owner. Andy's an owner. We buy gold. We like gold.
I like the way it held 1800.
But the way it's trading, okay, it's not trading very positively right now. But remember, when you're trading paper gold on a very short time frame, okay, daily or less, I mean, right now it doesn't look so good. Now, can it hold? Yeah, I mean, look, I said this morning, I wrote 1880 to probably 1850, but we've broken through 1850. But this is not necessarily a total technical breakdown yet of 1850. Remember, when you're looking at a chart, the marks should be traded with a butcher knife, not a scalpel. Okay, a 0.5% move out of the range is still within the range. Okay, so I mean, gold is 1840 or so to 1880 and maybe 1800, and I think that'll be the key test on the next move. If we make the next move down, I think the key test will be at 1800. Okay, and then we'll decide from there. But overall, it looks pretty rotten. You continue to make lower highs all the way down. And look, at some point, gold will be much higher than it is today. But for now, it looks pretty bad. Okay. Silver, on the other hand, looks a little bit better and kind of came off of this bottom here a little bit. Now, we're still short silver as well. And I think it's probably at resistance at 2250. Again, I'm not against silver. Listen, I got a lot of silver. I've been saving silver quarters since 1964. Plus, I buy silver all the time. So it's not like I'm against it. It's just the pattern is ugly, and it looks like it wants to try to break to the bottom end. Now, this is a pretty key hold at 2050, because it kind of keeps this bottom in place, even though it went a little bit lower, but really it came right back. So we can assume that it's really just still sitting in a range of 2150 or 22 to 27. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look great. Silver doesn't look great at all. It looks like a dead cat bounce here, from like the 20.5 level. But something tells me, with everything that's going on geopolitically and everything in the world, that if these things are going to surprise, if they're going to go down, they're going to trickle down. If they're going to surprise, they're going to surprise.
Well, I think they're definitely going to surprise. Look, I'm clearly in favor of a huge up move, but right now they continue to work their way lower. So why would I want to fight that?
Right.
That's what you got to remember is what you're fighting. I mean, you're fighting money and you're here to make money. So platinum, look, platinum broke out. Now it's interesting. Platinum has now become once again the strong one here. Now, can this be it, Andy? Can it actually move from here finally, or is it this is another false? False start?
You know, I mean, you want to go with the odds. Every time this thing picks its head up above 1,000, it gets whacked. So, you know, the odds favor the downside. But you know what? I've been bullish on platinum for years. I think it's way too cheap versus.
I think it's way underpriced as well, right? So, yeah, but in the meantime, if we were in it, which we don't anymore, we'd be long it, and
We'd be long, and that's the right way to be because when the move comes, it's going to be huge.
I would say it's 1,000 to 1,100 right now.
Yeah. Okay. And to really look good, platinum has to get over 1,200.
I got to get back over 3,000.
No, it's got to break through that. That's been a resistance level for years.
Now, copper, interesting enough, had a big move which got us to reverse, and we bought into a down move this morning, okay, or Friday. But in the meantime, you know, look, I would suspect that it's got to hold somewhere around 440 if it's going to continue, you know, going back up. It did reach, you know, if you would look at this from a straight double top pattern, it reached a double top within a downtrending market, you know, but overall, again, the trend did trigger a change. And I think you're 440 to 460. Is there a chance we go lower? Of course there is. Is there a chance we break out the upside? Yeah. I mean,
I think the end of Chinese lockdowns is bullish for copper.
The which?
The end of Chinese lockdowns is bullish for copper.
And again, you can be, remember one thing, markets can go either way in a short period of time and create an action, okay, which is why even more importantly, when we start to dry up, that you don't get yourself involved in the mental aspect of trading, trying to figure it out. Let the trend tell you what it is, let the price action tell you what it is, and if it's wrong, it will reverse. So it'll get you back out again. In the meantime, 440 to 460 in copper, and of course in corn. Look, corn has gotten hammered recently, and it came back. Look, I think if I'm going to evaluate the crops, okay, I think this is a mental masturbation right now. I think guys get too long, the sellers come in and whack them. They get too short, the buyers come in and run them. In the meantime, we're just churning around a big mean, okay, and there's not enough action nor volume to make any clarifications here. And I think that you and I both agree that they're going significantly higher. And I think they may even surpass our original $10 to $11 target.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we're going to see $8 before we see $7.20.
And we're short, you know.
And I know we're short.
I'm just making it clear to everybody that we're short corn. But again, I don't like it. I mean, I've made money on it. I don't like it. Okay, because I know in my mind that there's going to be a big move in here somewhere, and I don't think it's going to be down. You know, we had some big down moves, but overall, again, to me, this is just the markets kind of policing themselves, especially when you lack the liquidity in the markets. You get bigger moves that are artificial or like a vacuum because the street gets too short, the buyers come in and push them right back up, and the street gets too long and they hammer them. And what they're really doing is they're shaking out the weak hands back and forth.
Yep. And you know what? When it comes to corn, beans, and wheat, in the corn, the basis is telling you it's going higher. In the soybeans, the crush spreads out further are telling you it's going higher. And in the wheat, the Kansas City, Chicago spread is telling you it's going higher. So, you know, those are fundamental things that I watch.
Of course. And Brad from South Dakota, a regular commenter and listener, demand is high on corn. Ethanol margins 8 to 10 cents a gallon. Local ethanol plants is a 0.22% positive basis. I think Vegas isn't telling the story. Corn going to 9 to 11, in my opinion. Weather turning hot and dry up here. Yeah, but you're up in the worst part of the world too for growing crops. I agree. Look, we both agree with you and think that listen, I think there's a chance they can double. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not predicting it, but there's certainly a chance. You know, if they get away, if the markets get away and you trap too many people trying to sell it, okay, you're going to see a chase to the upside because that's kind of what happens in these markets. They sit, and they churn. And I think right now you're 725 to 750.
How much does it cost to gas up that John Deere tractor?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Soybeans, which were long, and again, they're trying to break out to a new level.
The soybeans have been the strongest.
But this time, yeah, they were weak. Now they're kind of rotating.
I mean, listen. I look at this. It's the bottom line is it's that diesel, heating oil and diesel has been the strongest for a while. I mean, gasoline's pretty strong. They're all strong, but diesel, diesel comes from Brent, and Brent is Russia, and soybean oil is biodiesel, and I think that's supporting this big time.
I would agree, and again, I think you're in a position right now that a very big move is going to come again.
I think the next big move when it comes takes us to a new all-time.
20.
Yeah,
I agree. You're not getting
18 gets you 20.
I think you're looking at 1650 to 1750, and I think we're going a lot higher. That's again, it may come down first, and we are long, okay. And wheat, okay, which has been just as usual a wild animal, and as Andy has told you many times, a very political commodity. They ran it up, and then they ran it back down again, and they came right down to support at about 1050, and now they look like they may be headed back up again. And I think you're looking at 1050 to 1150. And again, we're short. Again, we benefited partially on the way down here. Today's up move, okay. We'll see. Now, does it trigger a reversal? That I don't know. I'd rather be long than short right now because, again, based on what we're seeing, based on inflation, based on all these other factors, to me, there's a much greater chance that we see a huge move to the upside. But again, it doesn't mean you can't get some selling first. And I think you have to always be very careful and to leave, as I like to say, check your opinions at the door. Okay. What say you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, check your opinion at the door is right. Watch the trends. Look, wheat is corrected, no question. But the pattern that's forming there, lower highs and higher lows, that means a big move's coming. And when this move comes, and this is, I mean, this one has craziness written all over it because of Russia. This has craziness. You know, that's Europe's breadbasket. And this war just ended 102 days, 104 days. Hey, you know, there's not going to be enough wheat to feed the world. That's the bottom line. That's it.
And would you be surprised to see we went from 950 to 1350 in 6 days or so? Would you be surprised to see that again? From 1050 to $15? No, I wouldn't be surprised to see anything here. Now, I'm not going to pick a bottom. I mean, is the rally going to come from 1050 or is it going to come from 10 or is it going to come from 950? I don't know, but it's coming. It'll come. Only the shadow knows. 2,000 to fill up a John Deere quad track with ag fuel.
Jeez, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And let me just switch over to my other charts real quick.
2,000, okay, and at 10 and at $7.50 corn. You put that in this that means you need 267 bushels of corn.
Yeah.
That's probably and actually more because of production costs to pay for that.
Now, interesting enough, feeder cattle's had a nice move, which were long. Now,
well, feeder corn has come down, so the feeder cattle can't.
Yeah, but I mean, it's had a nice move. You know, pretty much spiked straight up. Again, I think, in my opinion, this is just an opinion. I'm long, but I think that the cattle markets tie directly to crude oil, and when they push higher, they're going to push lower because it's going to.
Yeah, this feels like it could run out of gas.
Heat or eat, and now it's going to be which kind of protein can you afford to eat or eat. So, but again, right now we're long, and certainly I could say 170 support, and you know, obviously it looks like they can take out the highs with any kind of movement. And fat cattle or live cattle, we're short, and they look pretty awful. And it's interesting the divergence between the two. One looks really good, one looks really bad. So what does that say to you? Well, it's telling you that basically the future looks better, okay, because they're feeding those cattle to get them to live cattle, all right? But right now, not so good. I think that's what it really says. But overall, you're looking at probably, 130 to 136. And I think we can take the lows out here as well. All right. Now, again, look, I don't pick directions, but I can see what's going on in the economy. And I do know that people are going to have to make a decision on whether they're going to eat or what they're going to eat and whether they're going to heat or eat or run their cars. There's a lot of stuff going on and ain't none of it good. Okay. So just remember that from that standpoint, which is where these opinions come from. And natural gas, look at this. My goodness. And this was late too, I think. Let me just look. I just have to look this up real quick. Actually, it was pretty steady, I guess, all day. I guess I kind of missed it, but it was pretty steady. But it looked, when I first looked at it, it wasn't anywhere near what it is now. And again, it's up almost up.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it last night before I went to bed. It's around the 880 level. And then I looked at it this morning. I'm like, whoa.
Now, what do you think? Is it going to $10 now?
Well, it feels like it. I mean, it feels like $10 is a nice round number for it to go to. And, you know, we're at the beginning of hurricane season. I think they named the first storm. I think it's Alex. You know, so we'll see.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we're still long. We've been long for a hell of a long time. And I would say $8.50 to $9.50, $10. But again, I wouldn't sell this. I have no desire, you know, in this environment, I have no desire to be short any of the energies at all. And that includes crude oil, which again, I didn't think it was going to come off the 121 last night, but it did. And it actually got down on the day before closing late and running higher. I would firmly expect to see within the next 10 days, 130, maybe new highs. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're going to go to a new high here. I'm not sure when exactly, but it's heading in that direction. And when it going back to natural gas for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
UK natural gas, which is kind of a European
kind of fading in and out. That's why I'm kind of stumbling.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at another chart just to get some data here for it. But UK natural gas before 2021, the all-time high was about 117, and it's pounds per thermal units. It went up to 800 this year, you know, with the Russian invasion. Right now it's at 157. So 157, we're about 40 above the all-time high. Natural gas is a far more international commodity in the US now because of LNG. And natural gas and oil, they're all tied in because they're all, you know, subject to this idiotic US energy policy. So the sky's the limit.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised to see crude oil go to $200 a barrel.
Listen, I think we're going 150, 200, no problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
by the way, Bubba, that gasoline and heating oil made new highs last week. Well, gasoline made a new all-time high. I think it made a new all-time high today, traded up to 432.60. You know, before all this nonsense, the high was 363.10. So we're 80 cents. You know, we're what 75 cents above there on today's highs.
And
the bottom line is
we don't take care of that problem.
Right, but the bottom line is that the products are telling us the product prices are higher than when crude was 147. They're telling us that crude is going to a new high.
And here's from my guy who's in the business. We are burning more gas for power generation because the incremental coal ton is not available. Neither is transportation. Okay, and right. you can also think that in this administration for that as well. Okay.
Right, and by the way, thermal coal for delivery in the Netherlands, over $300 a ton.
Jeez.
Come on, you know.
Anyways, crude oil 115 to 125, 115 to 125, and cocoa, Charlie, you know, look again. It looks horrible. It had a little bit of a bounce, but it's going lower. It looks like it wants to go lower. And, you know, again, can it change? Yeah, of course it can change. I mean, do I know? No, but just based on the overall price action that we're watching, it don't look so good.
Okay? Yeah, cocoa's been lousy. Just to answer a question to you, how high could you see heating oil going? Heating oil is interesting. Heating oil is it's the distillate. It's the proxy for the distillates. You know, it's Brent is the preferable crude for heating oil. And at the end of the day, I think that, you know, we could see heating oil at $6. The problem is that the risk of sell-offs rises with the risk of corrections rises with the prices.
Right.
This is not good. This is going to be a very bumpy road. So, you know, you might buy heating oil here and you might be right, but, you know, you got to have a large pair of cojones to to hang on to that ride, you know, and it could get very painful.
And we're long heating oil. I mean, we do trade it.
Right.
So
No, I'm just saying it could get very painful here. You know, hey, crude oil. If I told you, Bubba, the crude oil market looks great, but it's going to 95 before it goes to 150, would you be surprised?
no,
Okay.
not at all.
The risk of corrections rise.
All I know is this, Andy, the higher prices get, the more variations there are because it's still the same percentage that it moved before.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So
cocoa,
you know what? So
if you
heating
trade
oil.
it- Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
No,
go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, heating oil, where is it at? Around just under 440. You know what?
I'll put it up for you right now. Hold on.
It's a rough one. You know, it's a rough call here.
It's very pricey. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, again, but again, it's in proportion, and that's what we have to remember. It's right now 438, 440 is right.
Right.
It's gonna make a new high.
And you know what? Can it go to $6? Absolutely. But can it go via 350? Yes. And how are you going to feel at 375? Like puking. So just follow the trends. Follow the trends. Don't invest. Trade.
And cotton, which we're short. Look, cotton still looks pretty damn good, but for the trend right now is down. Okay, and you know, look, we're going to try to take benefit of the downtrend. I'd be surprised if it gets below 130. I might be surprised if it gets below 135 now, the way I'm watching it.
What's weighing on cotton right now is India. India planted 15% larger crop than last year because of the high prices. Since that news came out, it's been kind of under some pressure.
Okay. In the meantime, it still looks, overall, it looks pretty damn good.
Right. By the way, what's the cure for high prices in commodities?
High prices are always the cure.
Right. Okay. Producers pay increase. Now, that inflation is still the major ignition here. But, you know, hey, they're going to plant more.
Yeah.
They're going to plant more.
But we need more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sugar, we're still long. And look, it's found a new support level. You know, after being ugly, now it's found, you know, around the 1920, 1930, 1940 level. Certainly, it'd be no surprise if it takes out 20. It'd be no surprise if it takes out the highs.
Right. I like sugar. I think that higher lows, lower highs, basically setting up for a big move eventually. I don't know.
And how much of an effect will a high oil be on sugar since they use
it should have a huge effect because just like corn here in the US, in Brazil, it's all about sugarcane. So, and that's the free market sugar market. So, you know what? The higher oil goes, it puts upward pressure on sugar.
OJ, which we're along as well. Again, listen, I don't get it. Okay, it's not for me to get it. I know inflation, so I know that these prices are artificially based, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, if I'm saying that the market's wrong, what did you used to do to a guy that worked for you that you said the market was wrong? What'd you do to him?
Fire him.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
The market ain't never wrong. Okay.
The markets are never wrong. The markets are never. No, listen. I would tell them originally, you know, but if they insist, you know, you can't argue with someone who thinks they're right all the time.
Right.
Right.
I mean, OJ is getting set to make another huge move. Now, obviously, we're long, but not because we're long, but based on what's going on around the globe, based on a lot of the shortages we're seeing, to me, it can only be big up, but it could go down. Again, I don't make those predictions. I'm telling you that by next week, we could either see 170 or 190.
By the way, anyone who thinks they're right about the markets all the time, there's only two places for them: in the government or at the Fed.
And of course, coffee. Look at this. And once again, as we said, we got short for a while, but we've been long, and we've been riding this boat up, and it looks like it wants to continue to go higher. I mean,
right, and it stopped above $2. You know, I mean, it was an ugly sell-off from 260-ish all the way down to just over $2, and bingo, all of a sudden it found the bottom.
Right, and I think we're going to $3. I think Andy agrees with that.
Oh, I know, definitely.
Okay, and lumber. Listen, we don't trade it, so it's really just more of a talking point. But lumber continues to try to test that bottom. Will it make the 500 low, or is it going to find some support at 600?
Who the hell knows? You know what? This is a crazy thin. You talk about thin. You want to see what the conditions could be in an illiquid summer and other markets. Just look at lumber. The bottom line in lumber is it's if a slug of selling or buying comes into the market, the other side disappears. There's gaps, and it creates craziness. So you can never predict in lumber. Could the thing fall down to 500? Yeah. Hey, before 2017, the highest price ever was 493.50. So is 600 a low price? Well, it's a low price compared to where we were a couple of weeks ago, but it's a pretty high price compared to where we've been over the last 4 decades.
Isn't that amazing how you just stated that? And it's, everybody looks at, PE ratios and this and that. It doesn't matter. It's what is it now?
Right, exactly. What is it now?
What is the surrounding environment tell you? Okay, so now in this environment, the price is low, but you turn back the clock, the price is high. So again, trying to trade off of that is silly. Okay?
That's exactly right. And now the trend is lower in lumber. So
what is your view on lumber though? If I said you give me a price, it's going to be in 6 months now. Where's it going to be?
6 months from now?
Yeah.
You know what? My price would be between 600 and 700.
Okay. I don't know why. So I only
you know why? And you know why?
Why?
You know why? Because I think higher interest rates weigh on the housing market. And I think that now you have home builders who, if you want to buy a lot, like when I bought my house, Bubba, when you bought your house, we buy it a year before it was ready? About a year, right? Yeah. If you have to qualify for a mortgage right now, and you're buying from Lennar or Toll Brothers, you have to qualify at 6.75% interest rate. So that's going to slow down this housing market, the new home.
It will.
That's going to slow 100%. Down the demand for lumber. But I don't think it's going to fall through the floor at all. Okay. I think it's going to hang around these levels. That's my opinion. I mean, but you know what? I would never put my money where my mouth is in this market.
Right. No, I mean, again, it just. When I ask you for just a straight opinion, it's just, again, you follow this market on a regular basis. I don't.
Yeah.
Because I traded.
I will tell you one thing. Though. I do like Weyerhaeuser stock because I do think that they benefit from the fact that lumber is maybe a low price in the short term, but it's a very high price in the long term. They pay a nice dividend. And you know what? They make lots of money in the wood market because they own a lot of timberlands, and the demand is still there. I think that they have a very good, and it's past just lumber for houses. It's the paper business. There's all kinds of business there. So I like that, but lumber itself, and Bubba, when it was down at about 500 last summer, August or whatever, I said, felt like it was bottoming, and it exploded. Right now, I just don't see anything. I think these interest rates are tough.
I agree. So any last minute thoughts before we switch over?
Yeah, be careful. Be careful and expect illiquidity. Do not think that the markets are going to be like they were over the last couple of months and years. They're not. They're going to be crazy. Jamie Dimon, listen, he got cryptos totally wrong, but he warned of a hurricane. That man is in charge of the biggest financial institution in the United States, and he's battening down the hatches. Hedge your portfolios.
And remember, okay, that, you just have to, take the market as they come and not try to outsmart them or outthink them, because where you'll end up in the crapper. Okay.
Right.
All right. We're going to stop this and we're going to come back with the actual regular Monday night call. Give me a minute to stop recording. Let my girlfriend speak to me. Hold on. Because I don't know if she's a girl, but she sounds like a girl. Thank you, honey. Okay. And what's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to the Monday night call. And of course, we've been going for an hour already, but there's always room for more. And it's now the
We're back and better than ever after a week off, right?
We had a week off, is right, and we're back. We're back, and Michael Jordan and us were back out of retirement, and here we go. And look, as I said before, it's a tough market. I tell everybody every morning when we're trading futures, look, turn the machine off, go to the pool, go play golf, go play tennis, go to lunch, go take a nap. There's nothing to do here, and I'm serious. I think that too many try to do too much when there's nothing to do. Okay. And you can only get yourself in trouble. when you do that. And, you know, it's funny, Andy, I'm getting a physical Thursday before I go back. And so I got to fill out a questionnaire. Here's one of the questions. I almost died when I saw this. At birth, what was your sex?
You live in Chicago.
Can you imagine now that this is where we are? Okay. Well, when you were born at birth, what was your sex? I don't know. Often. Anyway, I just can't believe it. And of course, the dollar, that's all, folks. And we've said this for, I don't know, forever. I mean, the dollar continues to be worth less and less and less. So even though your salaries are higher, you're making more money, there's no way you're covering the extra costs that are coming in. Okay. Nothing is making up for the imbecilic decisions that are being made in this country and around the globe. What do you think?
Yeah, it's the best horse in the glue factory, right?
Yep.
Well, maybe it's the best pig. Given your picture, it's the best pig in the pigsty.
I mean, it's ridiculous, but this is what you got. Okay. And
by the way, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Who? I love the bill. Who signed it? I can't make out the signature for Secretary of Treasury.
I can't read it either.
I can't read it. I'm trying to, because the other things are hysterical. But
yeah,
you know,
it's amazing. And somebody sent me a clip from Carl Sagan, and it was him on Johnny Carson predicting a lot of things that are happening now. But this was a great quote. It's kind of long, but I'm gonna go ahead and read it anyways. I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time when the United States is a service and an information economy, when nearly all the manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeability question, those in authority, when clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscope, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide almost without noticing back into superstition and darkness. Now, this was said, I think, in 1994, right before he died. Okay, or actually 1996. There you go. What do you think about that?
Sad.
Is that not playing? Is that not playing out now?
It's playing out. It's playing out in the United States.
I mean, scary. Anyways, so
well, I mean, I would add slipping back into superstition, darkness, and stupidity.
So it is scary. It is what it is. And again, I'm sorry to bring the news, but that's what it is. In the meantime, we always thank our service people, and I'm sorry, but we're going to need you more than ever. This is the violence in this country, and I do think the impending civil, revolutionary, or war is going to put you guys back in work. And I hate to see it, but I have to thank you always. And now I think I'm thanking you in advance because I don't see a real way out from here. I think this is going to be very, very tricky, and hopefully we'll survive it. But
I actually think we're going to see martial law in this country.
It's getting worse and worse. And I think but we always thank our public servants because, again, without you guys, we'd really have troubles. So, and Israel warns it will use the right to self-defense to keep nukes out of Iran. Okay. And of course, we know what the squad is saying about this kind of stuff. And what do you think?
Oh, all I could say is a sigh. This has gotten out of hand. We let Iran do this. The one saving grace is that the Saudis hate the Iranians. Listen, I'm sure they have a nuke. I'm sure they do. But North Korea has it too. They're just as dangerous. I
mean, and restaurants adding inflation fees amid razor thin margins. I mean, certainly this is another problem. And why this stuff is all for basically no reason. And it becomes more and more frustrating as we move on. Certainly more and more frustrating for the restaurant owners. It's hard to make a living. Okay. China demands U.S. halt trade talks with Taiwan. Now, China demands, and of course, they're in a position to demand because we have a very weak leadership right now.
So what are we going to do? We're going to end tariffs on China. That's how we're going to respond.
Did you see where Russia said they would not be afraid to nuke the West if any of their missiles?
That was a TV commentator who said that. Putin's comment was a little more contrite. He was more like, we'll attack the sources of the weapons. But one of their TV commentators, one of their brilliant TV commentators, like the ones we have here, said they could wipe out the West Coast and East Coast with 4 missiles.
And the Fed can only kill the economy with whatever takes approach. And again, they have no plan. This is a great American tragedy, what we have done to the financial system in this country.
The Fed has no tools. They have no tools for the supply side. They have tools for the demand side. They can choke demand. They can do that through interest rates. They cannot choke demand through this. They cannot do anything to help the supply side. It's a geopolitical issue. And that's where the problem is now.
Right. And of course, Connie always sends us her words of wisdom. Expecting things to change without putting any effort is like waiting for a ship at the airport. And you couldn't say it any clearer than that. I mean, the only way that you can get change is to take care. Everybody has to participate. We can't continue to ignore the problems. Okay?
Everyone's got suggestions. Everyone's got opinions, but very few people are willing to do anything. You got to do the work.
I was hit with restaurant fees in DC, spending $50 on their plus a la carte. Isn't it amazing? God, killing me. And of course, your State of the Union, we have a politician without a spine, backed by a party without shame, supported by networks without integrity. Pretty much spot on. Okay. I can't see much more than that. That's pretty much the story right now. Now, you can hide from it. You can tell me I'm full of shit. Hey, look, you won't be the first one, but to me, this is almost dead on, okay? Because certainly the people in power right now could care less about what's going on. Otherwise, they'd have done something about it, okay? Instead of continuing to try to help for the Great Reset. Good stuff, Connie. Thank you. And of course, my bitch, I've been bitching forever, but I got one more. Biden plans to pay down national debt and tackle inflation. Okay, how? Can anybody tell me what he's going to do to pay the national debt when they're
sounds good? He going to tax the rich.
Yeah, I mean, how are they going to pay the national debt down when when spending and debt is so far out of control and they have no chance? I mean,
because he's going to create a green economy that creates huge jobs and tax inflows.
Yeah, it's going to be painful while we're trying to get there.
That's right. It's painful.
Yeah, we're going to be out of business, and the middle class wave goodbye. Because what those guys supposedly argued against all that time about the rich and taxing the rich, they're setting the table for the rich only. Okay, so you can argue with me, you can say whatever you want. It's as clear as the nose in your face what they're trying to do here, and it is not to the benefit of the middle class. Do you agree?
You're giving the U.S. taxpayer a cystoscopy on a daily basis.
No, it ain't that painful. You gotta know what that is, but that is painful.
I know.
They're coming out with nuclear. Yeah, they're gonna come out with a digital currency. That's what they're coming out with. Anyways, the futures S&P. We use the Dow we use the Dow futures. We're long. Okay, to me, you're looking at 32. 32,000 to 33, 34,000. Look, we're long. I'm not looking to buy more though. I'm going to tell you straight. Okay, I'm long. But I ain't adding. Okay, sometimes I'll tell you I will add. I got no interest in adding here. Okay, I'm open to escape. Okay, but it's in a very tight range, which suggests that it's going to either test 34,000 or test the lows. Okay, that's what I would. But for here, 32 to 34,000. The S&P Echo Sierra, it's virtually the same pattern. Okay, and we're long, and this is 4120 to 4200. And again, I would say you're going to see, 4,300, which was at the top right here, or you're going to see new lows. Again, I'm not adding here either. Now I'm long, but I'm not adding. Okay. And the NASDAQ, November, Quebec, same pattern. Now this looks worse than most, and which is why you've seen some of the bigger rallies. But I mean, today's action should warn you. Now again, we're long, but it should warn you that it don't look so good. And anytime a market that's up 250 and fails after being pretty much devastated, but it went right to resistance, basically fell apart. To me, I'd be looking at this from 12.4 to 12.8, which is interesting enough, a place where we talked about selling it on our call this morning, but for a short-term trade. But overall, again, it's going to make a move, a run up, which you could do both. Now it could run and collapse, okay, or it could just collapse, or it could just sit here for a while, which is probably the higher probability right now. And the Russell, which we're also long, they all look the same. Okay, there's no real difference. The only thing that changes the numbers, 1850 to 1920 or so. I mean, again, these are all setting up to make much bigger moves. Okay. Which direction? We'll see. Now, right now, we're assuming long because that's the side we're on, but that doesn't mean that that's necessarily going to be the side. And interesting enough, the VIX is held at 25. Okay, so it appears, even with the downtrend of the VIX, it appears that now the new support, it was 10, it was 15, it was 20, now it looks like it's 25. What do you think?
Yeah, 20 to 25 is my buy zone on the VIX.
Okay.
Definitely scale down. I mean, that's what I've been liking here. I've been waiting for it to get there. We're here now. So I like long the VIX at these levels.
We'll see where they take us. Okay, but again, the volatility is higher, which only suggests that there's more activity coming. It doesn't mean down. It just means that there's more activity coming, and it should make some wilder swinging moves. And of course, Apple, Alpha Papa Lima, which we are still short, and it reached up to about the 150 so level, 152, and here it is coming back down again. So it was basically 136 is found the bottom. Now for today, I would say 144 is support, 152 is resistance. 144 to 152. Okay. And we are short. Alpha Golf, AG, which we are long. Look, this came down and hovered around 8. And as I said to you a couple of weeks ago, look, I'm not recommending you do this, but I'm certainly not going to sell it at $8. Okay.
Right. I'd much rather be long this at 876 than short.
Right. If you want to take a shot, I would be a buyer. Okay, I'm not telling you to do so. And again, I will never give you, I will always put the disclaimer, it's up to you. If you feel like taking a shot, to me, it was a much higher probability that it would go higher than
it's just logic. I mean, the thing goes that you can only make $8.76 on the short stuff. That's the whole point.
So we are long, and it looks to me that you're probably looking at about 950 at the next resistance. And it looks like 850 is pretty good support. Okay, 850 to 950. AMD, Alpha Michael Delta, which we're still short, and this had a pretty big move up. It did fail from the resistance level today. We'll see. Again, I don't like the action here. This is going to be a key moment in time coming right now, and we'll see if it's going to continue back down in the overall trend, which has been the NASDAQ for a while, or where it's going to go from here. So for today, I'd say it's 100 to 110. Okay. Now I'm going to add back in, we used to trade years ago, Amazon. I'm going to add it back in now because it did split 20 for 1 today. Okay. Now we don't track that in any portfolio yet, but we are going to add it back in here because it should be a relatively active stock to trade, I would suspect. Now I could be wrong, but we have no position in it currently. And based on what I'm looking at, it could fill the gap up to 135. But you could see some pretty solid resistance at 130, right? And it looks to me you're like 120 to 130 right now. Now, I did take a position myself today, but I hedged it. Okay, I bought it and hedged it because, again, I'm going to assume that no matter where it's going to go, there will be some rally here because it now becomes much more playable for many of the average investors. Okay. But again, I'm hedged, so I don't really care. If it breaks down, it won't bother me. It won't bother me one way or the other. But for today, 120 to 130. Bravo Alpha, which we're long. And, look, it's kind of China's stuff is trying to pick up a little bit. We've seen it in the wind. You've seen it in some of the other things. It looks like it's found some new support at about 92. I think you're probably 92 to 105 for now. Now again, overall, I don't think much of this. I would not be buying this and putting it in my portfolio. I would trade it. Okay, I don't know about what's going to happen here with China. You know, obviously it's very precarious with what they say and what they do anyways. What do you think, Blake?
You know, I'm not surprised that the stock has popped because of the end of the Chinese lockdown. But quite frankly, you know, this stock has looked terrible for so long. It's due for a bit of a recovery, but it's still, you know, it's still pretty low compared to where
Right,
it
yeah,
was.
no, I agree. I guess so anyway, 92 to 105 or so would be reasonable to watch. I
I
mean,
wonder if Munger, do you think Munger's still in there?
Munger, is he still around?
Yeah.
Bido, Bravo, India, Tango, Oscar. We still have not made a trade. Now, I did make a trade here. Just I give you full disclosure always. I did buy this myself. Okay. I bought it at 18 and change. Okay. Just because, again, I'm not afraid to own Bitcoin anyways. And I just bought some stock. I didn't put options on it. I didn't make any play here. I just bought some stock. And it's really just stuck in a consolidation range. Now, I do believe that the Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are going to break out huge to the upside at some point. Okay. I think that everything we're seeing is making them, even though they're not moving, I think the surrounding story is becoming more bullish for these things. Now, I could be wrong. So again, remember, anytime you're trading something like this, my risk is $1,800 per 100 shares I bought. Okay. That's
It's
what
funny you bought. It's funny that you bought that. When did you bought that over the last 2 weeks?
Yep.
I bought BitQ. How's that?
I was going to buy that too, but I bought
BitQ.
You know what? I talk about it every week. Maybe I'll step in and buy some just for kicks. You know, look,
Yeah. No, I bought some BitQ because around $8 because I like that pick and shovel play.
I'm not afraid to own them. Again, I own them anyways. I own them in real money. You know, I own them in a wallet. Okay. And listen, I'm not doing great on it. I'll be honest. I mean, but I'm not going to sell them. I mean, either they're going to zero or I'm going to make a lot of money. In the meantime, on this chart, you're 18 to 20. Okay. And again, we don't trade it. I'm still trying to get a feel for the futures market in these, which is hard. That's what we're trying to read, really, because the backwardation contango, which doesn't appear yet because there isn't enough liquidity going out into the future. But again, if you want to be in Bitcoin, this is the way to play it. This is directly correlated to the future. BitQ, which Andy said he bought, and I already own, but I own it a lot higher. This is like a patient that's dead. Okay. Certainly, if I look at this chart, okay, and I understand what they're doing, I say, you know, it looks like it's a good bottoming pattern. Is there a risk? Of course there's a risk. It go to zero. Okay. But certainly, I would have no problem taking a stab here.
That's exactly what was my thought process, Bubba. I said, this is a good consolidation pattern. It's an $8 stock. It's worth it. It's a shot.
I agree. Where's your real risk? It's $8. Okay.
Right.
But is it really $8? And even if it is, can it go back to 36? You know, there's a lot of things here that play. But when I see this out of anything else, when I see a market go dead and sit either at the bottom or the top, to me, it's usually an indication it's getting ready to reverse. Now we'll see. I could be totally wrong. Okay. But I can't even give you levels on this call. They're so tight. Okay. We don't trade it anyways in the portfolio. So be that as it may, it is what it is. I have no levels, Connie. It's just, to me, if you want to take a shot, I'd buy it. I'd buy it anywhere around here. Chewy, Charlie Hotel, Whiskey Yankee, we're still short. We've been short forever. And this is, again, it's found, some support at about 24. It's got resistance at about 28.
Yeah, it popped after earnings.
And it looks pretty bad. Okay.
Oh.
Now, one of the questions you would ask yourself is, did it take all the punishment it's going to take going forward from when it was 120? Okay. And is it really probably maybe finding a bottom, even though the rest of the market may tank further? Because I want to take you back to 2008. Amazon in November of 2008, before the markets had totally bottomed, was at $30. By the time the markets actually bottomed, Amazon was at 60. Okay.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the same here, but what I'm saying is that, some stocks will bottom long before the markets actually bottom. Okay. And I'm not saying we're short this, but I would, for today, I'd say 24 to 30. Okay. And I'd be a seller, not a buyer. Now I do own this in my hedging account, but I'm shorted in the portfolios. Okay. Coin, Now, this I bought as well. And this is, I bought this down in the 60s. It is bouncing. Again, look at the pattern. Okay. Now, again, does it mean this is the bottom? Absolutely not. But again, remember, when you've had a fairly dramatic sell-off, and I think what was it, 400 was the high? Is that right?
Yeah, 429.
50 was that, or whatever it was. So
Yeah,
I was 400. And now we're like stuck, and it's found a bottom. Now we're short. Okay, just full disclosure, we're short this. But my hedging account, I go, what the hell? This is a pretty good shot, and I can hedge it anyways. So I
right.
bought some more, and I think that you're looking at now 60 to 80. And you may say, geez, that's a hell of a wild range for a $20 stock, for a $60 stock. But if you just look at the volatility or the implications or what it's telling you, okay, the stock is pricing in. Oops, wrong stock. Sorry, kids. There we go. I knew it was wrong because I look at the number here. Pricing in $8 for the rest of this week, $13 for 2 weeks. And that's plus or minus. That's well within the range I just gave you. Okay. So look, we're short, but I bought some in hedge. I already had some before, but I bought more in hedge. But for here, 60 to 80, DraftKings, again, it's only a matter of time before these go bust or they get bought up. Okay. Now, Vegas is hopping. There's a lot of things going on. I have no idea, where these are going to go, but obviously I own this. I own a lot of it, but I stopped buying it. Okay. I just own it and I'm hedging it. This is my American Airlines of the gambling world. Look, we are long this right now, but it certainly looks pretty pathetic. Again, if it wasn't a portfolio, I probably wouldn't trade it anymore myself. Okay, but I do trade it within the portfolio. To me, it's 13 to 15 right now. Facebook, Foxtrot, Bravo. Yeah, I don't know. It's in Neverland. We're short this as well. I mean, 200, I would love to sell more. Okay. I think you're looking at 185 and more than likely, I think we eventually take out this low of 170. I don't know that the resignation of what's her name? The CEO means
Sheryl Sandberg.
yeah. So, look, I
Sheryl
think
Sandberg.
it's set up pretty good. It's certainly in a downtrend. And the bounce right there was right it. So again, I think the 200 is a great sale, and I'd like to continue to sell it. And again, it's 185 to 200 today, but I could see 170 coming. First Solar, Foxtrot, Sierra, Lima, Romeo, which were long. We had a nice package on the way down. Now we're getting a rally. Obviously, a big sell up today, but to me now, look very clearly, this is a blow off. Okay, now it's still kind of thin, but it's a blow off pattern. And I may or may not trade this tomorrow, but we are long it anyways. I may sell some put spreads here because of the blow off pattern. Okay, so I may tomorrow look at this, and if we're holding, I may go ahead and sell some put spreads for the week, just for the week, and look for a little bit of a bounce. Okay, I mean, certainly the rally was very solid, and you got up a little bit. You got a little bit too far away, which brought us right back to where it should be. Okay, so for today, 71 to 78. Okay, and GDX, Walt Delta X-ray, another product that is now in a coma. Now, what does that mean? Well, I would be more inclined, even though we're short gold, I'd be more inclined to buy this and sell it. Okay, although we are long it now, and I'd be more inclined to want to be a buyer. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd be more inclined to buy it. I said it in the pregame. I do think that it feels like gold's going to make a move to me, and I do like gold here.
I mean, if we're going to make a move in gold, it certainly could be down first, but the much bigger move will come to the upside.
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, it's so tight though. It's 32 to 34. Yeah. Goldman Sachs, Gulf Sierra, which we're long, and look, this had a nice little pop, and it got a little bit too ahead of itself. So now it's back on track, and 320-ish is 320-ish. It should be some support. Okay, it looks like probably 330 is the next set of resistance, 335, and again, we're long. We're looking for it to continue to go. Now, if it doesn't, we'll be reversing. It's that simple. I don't make long-term projections on anything, whether I'm hedging it or not. Okay, but certainly the 320, 318 level to 330. And then, of course, IWM, India Whiskey Michael, which we're now long as well. Okay. And, look, here we are. Very similar. You're seeing a lot of similar patterns. Got a little bit too steep. So how is it resolving itself? It's kind of going sideways right now. Okay. So the moment of truth will be if it comes back down and meets. Okay, that will tell you whether it's going to resume the uptrend or reverse out. And right now, there's no reason to believe it's going to reverse out other than I hate the markets in general. Okay. So for here, 180, 184 to a 190. Mara, oh, really? But this looks dead too. Now we're short this. Okay. Now, this is my key source who trades this every day. Okay, says that $6 is the number. Okay, or 5 is the number here. Okay. I don't know if that's right or not. Certainly when I look at this, I go, yeah. If I were looking, it might be when I take a shot at it. Again, when I look at markets, I think you do the same thing, Andy, is certainly you get to certain prices, you feel the risk reward is far outweighs anything else. And it's
Oh, of course. Both Mara and Riot, and I know we'll cover Riot in a little while. Those two, they've got, and it's really the reason I bought BitQ is because it holds those two. I didn't want to buy either one of them because they performed so horribly. But I figured, BitQ has a little Mara, a little Riot. He has a little of everything, little Coinbase, got a little of everything.
Little Bitcoin soup.
Yes, exactly. But looking at those charts is exactly why I bought the BitQ, because they're tempting here.
I mean, again, it's you're gambling a little bit. Just remember that.
Oh yeah.
As long as you remember that when you make a trade like this, you're gambling. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with gambling on something that you think has potential perceived value.
Right, exactly. There are things I do in the market, Bubba, in commodities and in stocks that I feel like I have a bit of an edge. But in that case, I am 100% gambling. Right. 100%.
I mean, it's a calculated gamble. That's what we're trying to say.
Right.
NEO, well, we're long NEO, and it suddenly is, started to, it came off of the low at 13, and it has rallied, and it got a little.
I mean, Chinese lockdown over. Talk about the end of tariffs. This is what's boosting this stock.
To me, I would look at 20 as resistance and 18 as support. Okay, we're long. Now, again, I'm not so hep on buying more. Okay, again, I'm not really all wound up to do anything in here, but certainly buying is not in my vernacular to be adding. I'm long, but I'm not looking to get extra long here because I certainly can feel, I've seen this movie before. It's just the duration and when does it end. In the meantime, 18 to 20, Nugget, very similar obviously to GDX because it's just to double the value and double the speed. Look, it's kind of holding and just a very tight consolidation. Okay. I mean, that's what you want to remember. Now we are short Nugget and long GDX, which is interesting. Now again, I don't like either side of this right now, but if I had to go to a default, if you said, hey, you got to make a trade here, I'd be a buyer more than a seller. Okay. But I am short. Okay. This would be like 48 to 52, Connie. NVIDIA, which is, looks like it possibly could have found a bottom down here. Again, this is very similar. When you look at enough charts, it's maybe a little bit wider, but it looks similar to some of the ones we said we were going to take a shot on. Okay. And it bounced pretty nicely. Okay. And now it looks like it got supported about 180 and resistance about 200. Okay. Now we're long, and I wouldn't be surprised if it breaks out above and makes a run at 230. Okay. Now again, I'm not getting too aggressive here to the long side because I do know what is out there, but it's just something that, again, to be aware of. And certainly if you're trading the trend is up.
Oh, it is up. It's scary though in that semiconductor.
But Penn, Papa, Echo, November. Look, this is the same as DraftKings. It's the same story. It's just twice as much, but it's in trouble. Again, the only way these two are going to survive is to get taken out. That's the only way they can survive, and it better happen fairly soon because they're burning through cash and they're still giving it away on top of it all. Okay.
It's funny. I watched the hockey playoffs. They're like, bet $5. We guarantee you $100. And I look at the stock price. I'm like, oh my God.
Exactly.
Incredible.
I mean, 28 to 33, right where it's at 34. The Qs, Quebec. Look at this tight consolidation. Why is it? Well, because it found a bottom, it found a trend higher, and it went up too fast. So for it to resolve itself, it can consolidate for another few days. This is very challenging. Now we have a long position, but I would look at this, I'd say 307 to 310. I got no interest in that range in this stock. This stock can move far faster than that. Yeah, I'll start over. Okay, no worries, brother. No worries, Cap. Mara, there is no levels on Mara. Okay, we're short. I would be inclined to be a buyer, but there really is no levels. It's in such a tight range. I mean, what am I going to say? There's not much to say here. Okay, so you're right. I did not give you anything to go with it. Qs, like I said, 305 to 310. It's just too tight to trade. We are long. Riot, which we don't trade, but the same as Mara, same as Bitcoin Soup, which is why Andy bought it. Look, I'm certainly not a seller of this stock. If I'm going to trade this, I'm buying it.
At 637, how much can you lose, Bubba?
Right, $637 a hundred.
Exactly.
My key source
That's why
says
you can't sell this.
350. Okay, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm holding out for 350 for now. Okay. In the meantime, again, there's really no levels here. I mean, it's in nowhere's Phil. Tighter than you know what. Okay. Roku, Romeo, Oscar, Kilo uniform, which we're still short. And again, look, it's now firmly below 100. Okay. Now it is interesting setting up that there's a much bigger move coming. Now, again, we're long the market, we're short Roku, and my guess is that this fails. Okay. My guess is that all of these big performers that were big during COVID get hammered even further. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the trend is ugly. COVID's over, and these are just out of favor. It's like it's the Kathy Wood world. It's Wood world.
It happens all the time. And don't get me wrong. Okay. I am long. I mean, I'm short and I am not stubborn about what it's going to do, but just I'm giving you an observation that I think there's a much higher probability that it trades, 70 to 60 to 50 before it trades back to 110.
Right. By the way, does Kathy Wood and her text thing remind you of Elaine Gazzarelli?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same thing. By the way, so what I'm saying is we've seen this before, right?
100%. We saw it every time it collapses. The week get hammered right from the beginning. Okay.
Right.
And some never recover. I mean, I saw this in the 90s. I saw it in 08, and I'm seeing it again now, and we'll see.
Look, Roku, all of these stocks that were the pandemic stocks, they did so well, but they were shooting stars. And you can't fight the trend here. You just can't.
Belt tightening will let Roku lower. Well, we'll see. That could be. Okay. Square dance. Look at this. Again, very narrow, tight little range in Square, which we're short. Look, this again, when you start to see this very tight little pattern, now it could go either way. I would suggest that this may be finding an area that it's going to start to move from the upwave, the upside. They're involved in a lot of things, and I think a lot of things they're involved in, I think, are very bullish over time. Now, it doesn't mean they're bullish today, but I think they are getting more bullish. But
you think Musk made a mistake? You think Musk made a mistake buying Twitter instead of buying Block?
I think so.
I think that.
I
think that might have been a better investment.
I think Block's a great company. I just think that
I do
going through these.
And by the way, he has some history there because he started PayPal. He was one of the originals in PayPal.
Right. Exactly. Anyway, 77 to 90 in Square. The SPY, like the others, they're in a very narrow range. It's hard to formulate any opinion other than the trend is higher, so I'm long. Okay. Again, I'm not. These ranges are so narrow from where we've been that it's really hard to grasp what you would expect. Roku, you're right. I didn't give you that either. I'm sorry. I'm so intent on telling you 85 to 95. Okay. And Square, I gave you already 77 to 90. And the SPY is 410 to 418. I mean, it's just miserable action, which again, it means that there's a much bigger move coming. And based on our position, we hope it's higher, but we'll see. Okay. Tango, Quebec, which is, we don't trade it anymore, but we probably be long it here. But again, look at the narrow range, just the same as its underlying, which is the Qs. Very tough, I would say, 31 to 34, 35. Tesla, boy, that thing got beat down the other day, and it looks pretty bad at the moment. However, it did break down below, and now we popped right back above, and you're kind of hovering around that 700 level. Okay.
You got to love him, though, Bubba. He's at war with Biden. He's at war with Bill Gates. He don't give up.
I think he's the greatest.
I think and by the way, he does it with such comic flair. That's what I really like about him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a tremendous businessman, very smart. In the meantime, 700 is like on the benchmark. I do not trade this anymore, so I don't have anything to say about it. But at 700, I think you're 700 to 800. Okay, if you fail, I think you're going to take out the recent lows. Okay. Win, Whiskey Yankee, November. Look, again, China a little bit better. Win's the better.
Yeah, China lockdown. It's all about that.
They go hand in hand. Okay, when these things happen, they go hand in hand because China's a big revenue stream for Win in Las Vegas Sands and some of the others. Okay, so again, at the end of the day, I love Win anyways. I think it's a great company, but it is, in a bad way. We are still short it right now, and I think you're probably looking 65 to 70. Okay, but I think China is a big factor here, and you're seeing now it wasn't quite as good as you might have thought, especially from where it opened. But anyway, 65 to 70, we're shorted for the moment. XBI continues to crumble. It has now found some consolidation. This is probably 65 to 73, and Zoom. Okay, it did get back over 100. Interesting enough. Now again. We don't trade this anymore, but we would be probably long it right here. But I think that, again, this fits in the Roku category and many others that I think are just going to fail and kind of go away, very much like a lot of the internet stocks went away in the 90s. But we'll see. Okay. Any comments from you, sir?
I just,
hold on.
I'm sorry.
105 to 120, Connie.
But I think that what we really need to do here is we need to stick with the program. We need to follow trends, even if it's a little, if it's a little choppy here and there, we'll get on the right side. But in terms of your own trading, factor in volatility, widen your horizons, which means that you've got to be willing to take a little bit more on the loss, but you have to look for more on the profit side when you're trading. Your trading style is a function of the market's volatility. And what you should do is you should prepare now for greater volatility, because while today and last week, it's been pretty mellow, I think that this is not going to continue. That's my opinion.
I agree. And I think, look, I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody in the morning. Okay. When we trade live, don't get caught. This is a very tough market. Do not give in. And you're much better off walking away and being here when the times are better.
That's exactly right. And you know what? The weather's beautiful. It's a summer. And the reason that the liquidity might dry up is because a lot of professionals are saying, you know what? This is a little too tough for me. Let me take a little bit of a rest here. And, that might be a good thing to follow, Yeah,
100%. I mean, again, I said it every day. Netflix, look, it's extremely tight range right now. It looks like it's 180 to 200. Look, at the end of the day, I happen to believe that Netflix fits in with Roku and the likes of those. I don't think it, but of course, I thought that when it was going to 600 too. So, I was never a fan of Roku. Of Netflix, but I use them. I'm a subscriber, but I think they're extremely overvalued, and I think they would have been much better off selling it out. And I think Apple would have been much better if they'd have bought them, and maybe that'll come to fruition soon. But for today, it's like 180 to 200 to 220, and there. Would I be a buyer? No. Okay. Would I be a seller? No. I would be waiting, and I'd like to be a seller at about the 210, 220. And if I were going to buy it, I might look at 180. But other than that, there's not much. Again, there isn't much going on, so it's hard to get excited when you have virtually zero volume, okay, and zero activity. This is not a good mix for trading. Okay, does that answer your question? I hope. Okay. So if you've got any quick stocks I'm gonna look at, I'll be happy to. Otherwise, I'll kiss you all goodbye and say have a nice week. Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree. Okay. I don't know. The dollar stores. They're now the $5 stores though.
What could they sell for $1, Bubba?
Yeah. I mean, it's
Not
just a
much.
big move on earnings. It's now sideways again. Listen, here's the bottom line. I can see the chart. I'm looking at it with you. I mean, I don't have any call on it. It's in debt solid consolidation. But I will say this, and I opened up with this, and Andy and I talked about it when he got here. I don't know whether they're going to need goods to sell. That's the problem because they've got a lot of stores to fill with product, and they ain't got enough product to get, and yet alone get what they have to get at their price range. I can only
Right, and that business depends on the trucks coming in every day. Little bit of an island reversal on that chart, though, huh?
I think these guys can only lose money going forward. Now, it doesn't mean the stocks are going to go down, but I can only see the companies losing money because they're not going to get enough goods to support all those stores.
Yeah, I agree.
Snap, so Sierra, November, Alpha, Papa. That looks horrible. I mean, listen, I thought that the rally was bullshit to begin with. Okay. I thought that was all a crock when it ran up into the 30s. Okay. I didn't buy into it when it ran up to here. I think it's garbage. Myself, personally, my opinion. Now, would I be a buyer? I mean, hey, look, I'm not a buyer of this ever, but certainly I'd look at it at 14 or so, 13.50. I ain't buying it before that. Again, I don't see this. See, I don't like Peloton. I never got the concept of Peloton. I don't get the concept of Snap. It means nothing to me. Now, again, I'm old. I'm not into all this technology, but I don't think that it's any better than anything else that's out there. Like, well, I guess it's what is it? WhatsApp or whatever it is? Or is that the Facebook version? So,
Yeah, WhatsApp.
I mean, again, could it go up? Sure. But for me, I think there's a lot better places to put your money than here. Okay. That's my opinion.
GLNCY.
Is that Glencore?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, look, from a charting standpoint, you can't ask for better. I mean, I'd be a buyer of this at 13.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like it's going to take out the highs at 14. Looks pretty good. Goldfields, Golf Foxtrot, India. Golf Foxtrot, India. Oy. Well, again, I think in my eyes, there's a lot better ways to play the gold markets than this. Okay. But that's up to you. I don't see this at all. What do you? I know you watch this up more than I do.
Yeah, I'm not. If I'm going to buy gold stocks, I'm going to buy the diversified GDX, or if I really want to turbocharge it, I'm going to play the Nugget or one of those things. I'm not going to buy a South African gold company. It's just there's too much idiosyncratic, unique risk in that thing.
I agree. Occidental looks great. Hell, I bought this at $12. Okay. This looks phenomenal. Now, again, this is obviously tied directly to the energy policy, and it continues to want to go higher. I mean, there's no, to me, I'd like to be a buyer at 68 and buy more. Okay.
I mean, listen, that there's been nothing like that traditional energy sector this year. Whether it's Oxy or the XLE, you really can't go wrong with much in that sector.
100%. Fast.
But as we said with heating oil, the higher they go, the more risks that we come in one day and we get that nasty sell-off. Just be careful.
Fast looks pretty awful, my brother. Okay. Now, again, we don't trade anymore. I know you do. I mean, it looks pretty ugly. Now it could be holding, some low here at 85. Okay. I don't have a tremendous view on it, but I would tell you that, if we were trading, we'd be long it. Okay. But I don't see much here. I mean, again, I don't particularly care for these, unless it's just a quick short-term trade. Okay. But I'd say 85 better hold. I think 90 is going to be some resistance. ZIM, Zulu, India, Michael, is that right? Or is it ZLM? Oh, no, it's integrated. I mean, this looks pretty good. I mean, it's got a nice little solid trend up. I think you're making an ascending triangle that if it can get through 70, I think it goes to 75, 80, 90. Okay. That's what I would look for. Okay. And the last one, Tango Echo Lima Lima. Tango Echo Lima Lima. This is a penny stock. Look, what do you want me to tell you? Okay. Would I trade it? Well, I mean, look, I'm gambling, I'd trade it, but other than that, I don't look at penny stocks. This is a gamble stock. Okay. You want to gamble? Hey, it's okay. All right, kids, listen. Look, I'm gonna say it again. Just be careful. You get no reward for over trading, especially into a crappy market. You get penalized and the brokers make money, but you don't. So it behooves you to be very careful in the current environment because there's not a lot going on. Okay, pick your spots, but if you're trying to be active, my words of wisdom to you are turn the machine off and walk away. You can look every morning and see if it looks like there's gonna be some activity, but you don't want to be standing there staring at a screen that will force you to make a bad decision at some point. Okay, guys? Andy, thanks, brother.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. Have a good trip back.
And we'll see you next